Good evening, everybody, and welcome to ShaliniSays WineShineQuarantine. I know you all have been waiting for this episode, even though we've had a lot of discussions of this topic, but we've not had such an amazing expert up until now because it's been more superficial discussions. And now today we are going to get into the depth of the story, like I mentioned already on my post on Facebook. We are going to talk depression, which I think is really huge at this point in time, considering the current circumstances. And I've been very lucky to actually have Dr. Ramon Llamba join me today. She is actually one of the first coaches in India. And I actually heard the word coaching in India from her. So really, really lucky to have her here. Dr. Ramon, welcome on the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Shalini, for having me over and for all the kind words. You've always been an inspiration, and these words coming from you really means a lot to me.
That's so sweet. You know, the best part about this show is that I'm inspired by her and she's inspired by me. So it's going to be really fun and an awesome show.
Inspiring.
Yes, and it's already on a good footing, as you can see. I'm going to not lose much time because I know that Dr. Ramon has a lot of pressing commitments and she's taken out a little bit of time for me. I'm going to go straight to the topic. I want to actually understand, because I know that you've done a PhD in quantum physics, which is very, very intriguing. I think the word physics scares me in any case. I don't see beyond chemistry, and that's a different kind of chemistry. So physics is an intimidating word per se, but quantum physics in correlation to mind, body, and soul alignment is so intriguing and interesting. I don't think a lot of people understand it, Doctor. So would you share what that means with everybody?
Thanks, Shalini, for this. So when you understand the term physics, first of all, life is standing on a ground of pure physics and not philosophy. Because we talk about vibes and vibrations. Vibrations are nothing but energy, and energy is physics. But in the domain of physics, there are two physics. One is the physics of the material world, something that we can see, the physical world. And then there is a physics of the non-physical world, which comes under the umbrella of quantum physics. So similarly, when you look at the human being, we have a physical body, which we can see, touch, right? That is the material world, the Newtonian physics we talk about. But then we also have a non-physical aspect, which is our mind, which we cannot see, our emotions, which we cannot see, our soul, which we cannot see, but it's real. So our mind, our emotions, and our soul, which is not in the physical world, but a non-physical aspect, comes in the domain of quantum physics. So quantum physics primarily is a study of the unseen world, which exists. Yeah. And when you look at the ratio between the physical and the non-physical world, the non-physical world is 70% and the physical world is 30%.
Wow, that's quite amazing.
So that's the non-physical aspect.
Talking about the fact that you mentioned the unseen world, there is something which a lot of us don't recognize in ourselves, and which is a topic, which is what I mentioned that we're going to go to, which is depression. Because a lot of us don't even understand that, or we're in denial, right? So it's not that, oh, we're just upset about a particular thing and this is making me unhappy, so I'm feeling like this. But it actually is a disease, it's a problem, and it has to be recognized. And Doctor, I know you deal with a lot of patients related to this field. So I would like you to explain depression and the signs of depression.
So Shalini, if you understand, in today's world, people have started using depression as either an escape mechanism or an attention-seeking racket. Because real depression is a disease. It's a mental disease where there is an emotional imbalance and a chemical imbalance in our brain. So when you understand the human brain, it's constantly producing certain balancing chemicals. But when your brain, because of extreme trauma, emotional trauma that you've dealt with quite far in the past, it stops producing these chemicals. That is when you're diagnosed as clinically depressed. So there is a huge difference which the audience must understand about being sad because of something that happened, right? Maybe you broke a relationship or you have a financial issue. So it's very normal and natural to go into sadness. But a clinical depressive person will stay in depression constantly. right? And it's a real thing. Like, so you can diagnose a clinical depressive patient through the symptoms, number one, and through obviously the blood test and the serotonin, the cortisol levels in the blood. So a proper diagnosis needs to be done. But these days people have made it like you're a little sad and you start using the word, oh, I'm depressed. But sadness is a part of life. So
Yeah.
depression is something like, you know what, a person has locked himself emotionally, mentally, and physically in a very, very, very dark basement at maybe a a B3 level, basement 3 level, and there's no oxygen there, and you're kind of frozen. It's a very complicated state to be in, but it's a real world there. It is
Yeah.
scary and it is real.
Yeah, and like you said, there is a very fine line between sadness and depression. People don't understand that line, and which is very important. And I think people should not use the word depression in jest, because it is, like you said, something very serious. And I know we are not trying to take this conversation by using the name of Bollywood to get attention on social media, etc. But it does come to my mind that something has happened in the current circumstances, which we've seen with Sushant Singh Rajput, and not just him, but a lot of Bollywood has done it, because I think fame plays a huge role, because it raises a certain expectation. And I think depression comes from the fact when you don't see an end in sight and you feel, every day is going to be a bad day. And that's the reason we go to extreme measures that have happened. And I feel that fame plays a huge role, because you never want to lose that fame, right? You never want to get off that pedestal. So that is the only reason I'm putting this reference here, Doctor. So don't please misunderstand that we're trying to get attention through this. But I know that you also studied the topic of suicidality in depth. So that is the reason I'm referring to this, and I want you to share with us that what point do you think a patient who's depressed goes to that extent and that extreme?
So, Shalini, if you understand the whole phenomena of any outcome, it is basically the seed has been sown at the early onset of childhood. Like, for example, parents want a perfect child and there is no room for mistakes and failure. So the child is implanted at a very young age. You cannot fail, you've got to be perfect. And especially, parents set up a high benchmark that the child has no permission for a mistake or a failure. And then, see, it's always understand one thing, your roots will create your fruits. When you sow a seed at a very, very, like you sow a small seed, after so many years, the tree starts bearing apples and giving fruits, right? So the fruit that we see as a depression or a suicidality has its seeds sown in the roots somewhere very, very at the onset of probably the fetus, when the child was in the mother's womb. What I understand about suicidality is most of the cases that I've dealt with, and I've gone into a questioning of the suicide survivors, at some point, right, the mother had tried or had thoughts of suicidality, and it somehow passed on as a vibration. So that's one area we need to address. The second area, my only ask for all the parents who have young children is, please allow your child to make mistakes and fail. It's okay. That does not define the self-worth of a child. Like if you take the example of Sushant Singh Rajput, so he had success and then he suddenly was facing failure. And if I look at it from a standpoint of his young nurturing years, probably there was no permission in his world, right? That failing is a total no. And that's when the child feels, okay, now I cannot take failure and I have no permission to fail. And you really dip down into a very low self-esteem. And that whole excitement for living life is gone, because now you don't want to embrace failure. So the seeds are sown very, very early on. And it's very important that every parent gives a very, very, very strong emotional foundation to their kid, where they let go of perfection and allow them to be imperfect. Loving your child does not come from getting good marks or not making mistakes. But somehow very innocently, the child picks up a message through the expectations of the parents that I have no permission to make mistakes and fail. And then what happens is, for a small child, that is trauma. That is the implanting of trauma, and that starts bearing up fruits. And depending on the experiences the child has gone through in the young years, he or she then goes into an acute state of not wanting to live life. And suicidality also comes from a space of a very, very, very low self-esteem. So self-love is the key. You've got to accept yourself no matter what. You've got to believe in yourself. Otherwise, it's going to lead to all of these mental imbalances. Plus, yes, suicidality also and depression is based on a very, very intense chemical imbalance in the brain. So, when you feel you're getting there, reach out for help, start meditation, do your self-work, do what you have to. And it's very important for the family to look up for the signs, because the person depressed may not even feel the need to reach out for help.
Yeah.
So the family has to reach out. So it's important that the family, everybody understands the symptoms, because a person who's locked up in a basement, dark basement, doesn't even recognize that they are there. The family has to really, really then get them out of there.
Yeah. That's so well said, because this is something that we've noticed all the time, that parents are always expecting us to be successful, and they're saying it. I know they're all well-meaning parents, but even us, like I'm a parent myself, but you don't realize that we are preparing our children for success. We are not preparing them for failure.
Yes.
Now, our mindset, we're very positive that, our child will be this and our child will be that. But you have to prepare a child that you can't always be winning. There has to be winning and losing in life, and that should not affect your self-esteem, which is what you said, which is so true. And I am just laying emphasis on what you said, because this is something all the parents that are listening should recognize, that prepare your child for failure. It sounds strange, but it's reality. It's absolute reality. And, doctor, I want to mention that what happens is that once upon a time, being depressed or going to a psychiatrist or going to a coach was a stigma. In today's day and age, it is not a stigma. So I want people to understand that it's okay to, go out for outside help. And that's what you do. I want you to tell us some interesting incidents you've had with clients where you've been able to do transformation to their life, so that people understand that it's okay to seek outside help and come to you.
So there have been many stories, Shalini. I could go on and on, but the ground reality of what I really do in therapy work is, you must understand in a very layman, I'll make it very simple for everybody to understand. Every single child who's born into this universe, right, is born with this whole identity of I am God, and I'm born for greatness, because every single soul that comes onto the planet has come to express something. But somewhere along those environmental upbringing years, environmental conditioning years, somewhere innocently the child picks up a message from the environment, I am dog, right? Wow. He loses his self-esteem, he loses his identity. Now, it's very important to understand, biologically, the human brain was designed to preserve self-identity. That's the core imperative of the human brain, that the whole life is existing on something called creating identity and preserving it. Now, the human brain is very innocent, and it only will preserve the identity the master believes is true. So if I believe I am God, my brain will create all the chemicals to preserve the identity of God. But as I grew up and I've moved away from my true identity, and I pick up an acquired false identity from my environment, and I stop believing in myself, because I feel I'm not good enough. I feel I'm going to fail. I feel I make mistakes. We end up, believing all of this stuff. I'm not confident. And then we start believing in the false identity. And when this identity is questioned again by failure, the brain stops functioning. You must understand, your brain is the organ that also creates self-preservation chemicals. That means if a person who's in a healthy brain, if I want to go and kill myself, my brain is going to produce a fear chemical that will stop me from doing it. So somebody who's gone into that whole domain of I want to suicide, that means they've totally lost mental balance because they are suffering from so much of an identity crisis. And now they believe that there is no identity at all. And that is so traumatic, right? And that's when these things happen. So all I would like to tell everybody's, um, no matter what, don't lose yourself. The world will never see it, but you got to see yourself from the eyes of how God would want to see you, right? And that's exactly what I do to my clients. The moment they come, the hope, the faith that nothing is wrong and it's all going to be okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. Like I've had clients who come and they're crying. They're saying, I'm depressed. And I tell them, you know what? That's not depression and you're going to be okay. And that much hope is enough for them to bounce back. Because the outside world is only telling them, tum depressed ho, kuch karo. So they've kind of lost that hope completely, So my job as a therapist and a coach, first thing is giving them hope that everything is okay and it's going to be okay. And we can recreate that identity again that you've lost. So that's the game of therapy and coaching.
That is so true, because even in the current circumstances, when I'm talking to people, and I have a lot of clients also who are going through, actually, they believe depression because of the fact that they've been isolated, and they've started believing that they're depressed, which is not true. They're just feeling that, oh my God, I can't go out and have a party with my friends or hang out. So they've made it bigger, larger than
life.
And it's very important to start the process with hope, like you said. There is no other way to do it. And for all of us that believe in God, etc., the minute we start, using an anchor and having that superpower, what it gives you is hope. That he's going to see us through, so that hope builds, and then we just keep getting better. So हमारे वो पुराने जमाने में भगवान के पास जाते थे, अब यहाँ पर हमें उन्हें समझाना पड़ता है कि ऐसे होगा, आप होप करो, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. So that's very well said. Also, Doc, I'm going to take you away a little bit from this topic, because I know a lot of my friends that are watching, I can see them are actually looking at doing this, because in their own way, they're healers, and they feel that they want to contribute to making people better people, or leave this world a better place, and they're thinking of going ahead and doing coaching. I also do know that you teach coaching as well, and you've got students, and I've seen your programs that you do dreams. So I want you to guide those people who are looking at doing coaching. How can they reach out to you? How can they go ahead and sign up and learn this program, and what do you offer?
So I have a 1-year detailed program, which is a very intensive program, which in this 1-year program, I've clubbed my almost my 22 years of experience that I went everywhere on the planet to gain. And it's a very holistic approach, because when you understand a human being, right, you got to then understand their brain, their emotional states, their soul state, and their physical state. So you got to understand it from a very holistic perspective. And that's exactly what I offer in this 1-year program, Shalini. It's a training program where you're certified with a life coach certificate, business coach certificate, and energy coach, because the new age we're entering into vibration medicine and energy medicine. Right? It's all about the energy science and quantum physics. So one of the certificates is you entitled to be an energy coach, which also gives you a deep understanding of the laws of manifestation and law of attraction beyond the book Secret. Because in the Secret also, there are many secrets that were hidden. Otherwise, if the secret was true, then we'd all be there, minting what we're living a life. So kind of getting them to the act of doing. And the reason why it's a 1-year program is the first 8 to 9 months, the entire focus is on building them up first. Building them up and filling up their gaps, and then giving them the technicalities. Because I think a life coach is a very, very serious business. When somebody's coming to you, there could be a cancer patient coming to you. There could be a depression patient coming to you. There could be a patient with financial problems coming to you. You don't know what's going to show up on your table. You got to be equipped to sort out all the problems. So I do 1 batch in a year, and my next batch is just starting in July. And It's an intensive training, and if anybody wants to get certified, there's a lot of hand holding from my company, Golden Age Transformation, because obviously the whole thing is, go out and make the planet a better place, heal the planet, do your bit, pass the light on.
Yeah, yeah. But that's very well said, because there is a huge responsibility, when you do coaching. And a lot of people think that it's just okay and anybody can be a coach. But no, there's a lot of years that go into this. And when you talk about 22 years of investing, time into understanding it and understanding people, it's absolutely true. Because I've now been doing it for, I think, almost about 4 years. And I still feel I have a long way to go. And every client of mine, I believe, is a learning experience for me. And
Absolutely.
I'm growing and
Yes.
evolving as I go along. And the more you study, the better you get at it. The more people you handle, hands on, you get better at it. So people that are looking at it, yes, there's an opportunity. You should go and join Dr. Ramon. I don't do any such courses yet. I'm 22 years away from it, but you should go and join Dr. Ramon for that. You were going to say something, so I stopped. Were you
No,
going to
no,
say
no.
something?
I think you're doing a great, great job, Shalini. I mean, I know your journey, and it's really inspiring. And when I see all the good stuff that you've done, it's amazing. It's really, really amazing.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Doctor, I'm going to ask you one more question because I think this is very relevant as well. I do know that you're dealing with a lot of people with a bipolar disorder. I want you to share a bit on that as well, because I do know a lot of people that are watching who are not sure. Again, like you said, there is a medical story to it, so they have to understand that. But please do share your thoughts on the bipolar disorder as well.
So, Shalini, when you understand the whole concept of polarity, right? Polarity means, so there are three states of existence in the emotional state. One is a positive state, one is a negative state, and the center point is a neutral or the balanced state. So let's imagine a scale. We call it the law of polarity, where there's a positive state, negative state, and the central state, the neutral state. So emotionally, each one of us is bipolar. When you look at our emotions, either we're extremely positive, or then we'll
Yeah.
go extremely negative, or we are extremely happy, or we are extremely sad. So bipolarity emotionally is a very natural state because it's a rhythmic momentum, up and down and up and down. Life is flowing up and down. So some days you'll be positive, some days you'll be negative. That's the flow and the motion of energy. Mentally and clinically, bipolarity happens when our mind goes into a state of imbalance of chemicals. And then, like, for example, a person who's not clinically bipolar, when he's angry or she's angry, they can manage the anger. They don't go to a point of damage. They will not throw things, break things, or they will not beat other people up. So
Yeah.
that is a manageable emotional bipolarity. But when it goes to a mental bipolarity, those people can be harmful. They can harm themselves in their emotional states of anger and rage. They could break things. They could beat up other people. They could go to any extent. So it's very important. These signs need to be treated with therapy. And yes, the starting of this, it happens with emotional bipolarity. So the
Yeah.
first thing is, even if you're dealing with little bit of anger, please learn to how you can manage your anger. People do business management, home management. I say first go and do some anger management. It's really, really important, because if it's not dealt at that level, then it will lead to mental bipolarity extremes.
Yeah, that's so true. But for a lot of you who think that you're bipolar, you're not bipolar, you're just menopausal. So just calm down there. Because we're all doing things and breaking things and losing our mind with that as well. But and also the other thing about depression is that you have to realize, and I feel I'm going to take you back for one more minute, because I know we have 5 minutes, and I want to quickly share this because this is just a thought that I have. You also have to be careful of the people that you're surrounded by.
Oh
Dr.
yes.
Laugh about it, and we can say that, oh, if you're finding yourself sad or depressed, look, if you're surrounded by assholes before you succumb to saying you're sad or depressed.
Absolutely, yes.
I do feel that that plays a huge role, and that is the reason I brought up that case, was because so many consecutive, suicides kind of makes you wonder what it is.
What's
We know
going
it.
on?
Yeah. So I wanted to share that thought with the audience as well, of the people that you should surround yourself with. That's a very important thing to leave people with.
Your tribe creates your vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very important, but because when you understand the world of vibrations, right, it's very important, it's very easy for a negative person to make a positive person negative. It's energy, so energy from the positive state to be pulled down to the negative is very, very easy. So yes, it's very important to learn to draw healthy boundaries, understand who resonates with your frequencies and who doesn't. And it's okay to say no sometimes. It's okay to plug out from people's drama and not be a victim to their toxicity. You know what, Shalini, what happens is because we are emotionally uh, bottled up, we end up emotionally vomiting on whoever comes in our space. And I feel that's very unkind.
Yes.
Right? Just because you can't handle your emotions, that doesn't mean you start vomiting out on other people in your environment. It's really not okay and it's unkind. So we need to learn to manage our emotions. It's important. How
Yes.
you manage everything about yourself, right? You manage how you dress up, you manage how you look, you manage your apps, you manage everything. So please learn to manage your emotions. Why should somebody else become a victim just because you are angry, you are hurt, and you are upset? So that's where the mindfulness plays a role.
So well said. That is so well said. I love how you said it. I don't think anybody's forgetting this one for a long time to come. Dr. Ramon, we have 5 more minutes. Is there a message out there that you would like to give the audience that is watching you, and how can they reach you? Is the other question that I would have after this.
Sure. So, one message I want to give you, my dear friends, life is about ups and downs. So, just being in the down does not mean you're depressed. I've seen so many people who feel they're depressed, but then you tell them, let's go out for a party, and they're very happy there. So, that's not depression. A depressed person will not want to go anywhere outside the box. They're trapped in a box. So, please understand, educate yourself. We live in a world of information today, right? And information is equal to transformation. So your first step towards transforming yourself is get the information and understand what depression is all about. Learn to embrace yourself no matter what, because if you don't love you, nobody will love you. We end up going to other people like emotional beggars. Like, you want people to understand you, you want people to love you. It's not their job to love you. They came into the world to love themselves and understand themselves. So please learn to understand yourself, love yourself, because nobody can love you the way you can love yourself. Nobody can understand you the way you can understand yourself and your needs. So be a need feeder to yourself, number one. Number two, embrace life in its natural state. And the natural state is the ebb and the tide, and the ebb and the ebb and the flow, where it's going up and down and up and down. It's never going to be consistent. The only constant is the rhythmic momentum up and down. So it's okay to be down in life, financially, mentally, emotionally, right? But it's like, what the analogy I would like to give, Shalini, is when we were kids, when little kids, and we started walking, we were learning to walk. We fell down. We fell down many times, but we did not stay fallen down, right? We got up and we started walking again. So you will fall down in life. Just don't stay falling down there. Get up and start walking again. It's not that complicated. And the other question to reach out to me is very simple. You could just Google my name, or probably my numbers are there on Google. They're all of my information is there on my website, which is goldenagetransformation.com. That's my company's name, or it's there all over social media. Get in touch with me on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll respond immediately.
That was so beautiful and so insightful, Doctor. And I want to also share with the audience that 2020 has been a reset for all of us. And it has taught us how we can be happy at home just by not going out there and seeking people, but finding the happiness within. So self love, like Dr. Ramon Llamba said, is the key to happiness. You have to indulge in a lot of it. You've been saying it for the longest time, that me time, and I'm on a roller coaster. I never get time for myself. This is an opportunity to go to the hashtag reset, do the self love, and like she said, just if you fall down, get up and walk, because that's what life is about, and there is hope. So hold on to it. So I hope these are all the take backs from Dr. Ramon Llamba. If you feel that there is, you're like treading between sadness and depression, you can reach out. We're all there. We are coaches. We're happy to help you, talk to you, and help you find the way. So reach out to any of us. Dr. Ramon Llamba, thank you very much for being here with me. It was an awesome show, and I'm sure there's a lot of take back from this show for the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shalini, for having me over, and I think it's my pleasure too. And lots and lots of love to all the viewers, and good luck and have a happy life.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all my lovely friends who are watching. I'm going to especially mention Roger, who's been watching every day. Dolly is here. Shalini is here. Daman is watching. Christian has joined us. MK Rai, Ruki. They are all watching and appreciating all that is going on. And thank you all for watching. And let's catch you again on Shalini Says Wine Shine Quarantine. My next topic is with a homeopath from Monaco. And she is super interesting. So, Dr. Ramon, please do watch. She's actually got a remedy for every problem, and at the drop of a hat, she just knows it all. So, on Wednesday with Julia on Shalini Says Wine Shine Quarantine. Until then, see you guys soon, and thank you, Doctor, again. Bye, all.
Okay. Bye, Shalini.
Bye, Ramon.